Short introduction of this courtesy stuff. So in Georgian, we have the terms for Mr. and Mrs. This is batoni and kalbatoni, okay? As for calling, addressing forms are vocative case, batono, kalbatono. That's pretty much it. So you can call me Eka, you can say kalbatono, Ekaterine, okay? We can call Tomek, for example, Tomek, or batono, Tomek. Richard, batono, Richard. Again, Katie, kalbatono, Katie. Okay. So, batono, let's start. Today, as promised, we're going to do Georgian verb. We're going to discuss Georgian verb. So, of course, it will be difficult to cover all the verb in all the details in just one session, but let us have a general review introduction of Georgian verb. What is it all about and why is it considered to be one of the most difficult verbs, comparing with other languages. So, yes, Georgian verb is said to be difficult because it does not follow the conventional or usual pattern of conjugation as most other languages have. Okay, so there are 4 different classes of conjugation, and each class has its own set and all rules for conjugation. For example, the first class is called the active voice class, transitives. The second class is passive. Third class is medial verbs. It is called medial verbs, which by nature are also passive. And the fourth class, which is said to be most difficult, is inversive, that is indirect verbs. We will talk about these classes in general today, of course. Also, one more thing that needs to remember is that Georgian tense is a little bit different from other tenses in other languages because it has the understanding of not only the tense, but also mood, grammatical category of mood, and also aspect, the aspect. And these tenses are called scrives. That is, scrive comes from Georgian word mtskrivi, and it is just a line, means nothing else. And there are 11 scrives in Georgian language. So let us discuss these 4 different conjugation classes, just the groups, what kind of, how the verbs are grouped in these 4 classes. Let me share. Okay, so yeah, I try to think of all grammatical categories that one verb can have, and okay, I'll come up with 8 of them. So the first comes preverb. Preverbs in Georgian verbs very often have the directional meanings, but not always. They can be just, sometimes they're very random, arbitrary. They sometimes change the meaning of the verb, sometimes just give the direction, sometimes they're just arbitrary, just random. After the preverb comes subject or object markers. Then we will see the version marker. Version is something that is responsible for the polypersonalism of the verb. So polypersonal agreement, for example. Version is something, in English, it can be like to have something done or get someone do something for you kind of thing, yeah? Version marker. Then comes stem. After the stem, we will see thematic markers. Thematic marker, in fact, is the stem maker, stem marker. Then we get contact markers. Contact marker is when you, in English, for example, here we will see in the next line is, you can see the verb gedacht und in a. In is a, here, in is a contact marker, and it means make someone do something, which we will discuss later. So here is subject and object markers. Then after the contact marker, then at the end we get scrive, that is tense markers, and then plural marker. This is a constitution of one verb. Of course, not all categories can be presented in all verbs. Sometimes the verbs don't have preverbs. Some subject-object markers are just zero, absent the way there are some persons, for example, second person doesn't have any subject-object marker, subject marker, yeah. Sometimes version marker is missing. Stem is always present, of course. Sometimes we can't see a thematic marker. Sometimes it is absent. Again, the verb can have the understanding of contact, and it can be zero. Subject-object markers at the end. Sometimes they can be observed, sometimes not. Again, not all screw markers be present all the time. And plural markers, the same with plural markers. So my point is that not all verbs in on forms and on conjugation have all these categories. As for example, I've chosen one of the verb which is considered to be difficult because, look at it, only one verb in Georgian. Gada achtung bina. If we try to translate it in English, we get quite a long sentence. This is the translation, this. In fact, okay. This is the translation of the just one Georgian word, gada achtung bina. And if we make the breakdown of the word verb, gada is the preverb. Okay, a is the version marker. Chtun is the stem. Eb is a thematic marker, stem maker. In is a contact. A is a third person singular subject marker. If we translate it in Georgian, in English, what do we get here? I don't know how accurate the translation is, but at least I try to incorporate all the information given in the verb in the English translation. The idea is that he, someone, helped her, the object, to make or help someone, the third person, jump over something. For the case of simplicity, I tried to come up with the other sentence. For example, father helped mother to make the child, or to help the child jump over the pool, over the river, or something else. This whole sentence is the idea given in the verb gadachtu bina. So why is it difficult for foreigner to master gadachtu bina rather than the whole sentence, English sentence? Because here in the English sentence, you can look up the meaning of all words and get more or less accurate idea about the translation, right? Father helped mother to make the child jump over the pool. How can we find out what this gada or a or chtun separate part? Okay, you can just Google search just chtun, yeah, nothing else. You won't find the meaning of the word final a or the beginning a. So my point is that you cannot make the breakdown and then translation of these markers to get the idea of the meaning of this verb. That's why it is difficult. Something that is a marker in Georgian verb is a whole separate word in English, which makes sense. That's why, to my observation, it's difficult to master Georgian verb. Not that it has many categories, but these categories are marked with markers, not with the separate words. Let's carry on. So now let us discuss the classes. The first classes we see here, contains the verbs which are transitive, verbs of active voice, usually have preverbs, thematic marker, stem makers, eb, ob, av, am, e. Subject is usually the nominative, direct object is dative, indirect object is dative as well. As for aorist, in the past subject is ergative, direct object nominative, indirect object dative. Yeah, a couple of words about ergativity. Ergative is the case specific just to several languages, just Basque language, Georgian language, a couple of Caucasian languages, and mainly they say this is the verb for, this is the case for past tense. Okay, so when we put the verb in the past, the subject will put in the ergative. Okay, there is just one single exception in Georgian where the subject, although in the present, it is a subject of the verb in the present, it takes still ergative. case, which is, let me show you. This is the verb to know. Yeah. For example, to know. I know, you know, he, she, it knows. Me vitsi, shen itsi, man itsis. Twen vitsit, tquen itsit, mat itsian. Man is ergative. And mat is also ergative. Okay, so the verb is in the present, it is in the first class, and it is not irregular but exception because the subject is in the ergative. Maybe this is the philosophy of the verb. So something that we know is something that we have seen or witnessed, and that's why we know it. Maybe this is why the subject is in the ergative, and it takes the ergative case, which is the case of past. No, we don't know about it. So a lot of people write different theories about it, but still there is still considered to be an exception. So as an example, some most basic verbs belong to this class. Აკეთებს, does, he does. Კითხულობს, he reads. Ჭამს, he eats. Swams, he drinks. სწავლობს, he learns. Conjugation. Me vsvam, I drink. V, first person singular subject marker. Shen svam, no subject markers. Is swams, he drinks. Čven vsvamt, we drink. Tkven svamt, isini svamen. Okay, Mark, can you help us here? Me vsvam.
Me vsvam.
Shen swam.
Shen svam.
Is swams.
Is swams.
Čven svamt.
Okay. Čven svamt.
Tkven svamt.
Quen svamt.
Isini svamen.
Isini svamen.
Isini svamen. Okay.
Svamen. Got it.
Me vsvam წყალს. I drink water. David, me vsvam წყალს.
Me vsvam წყალს.
Me vsvam ბევრ წყალს. David.
Vsvam ბევრ წყალს.
What does it mean? Me vsvam ბევრ წყალს. Try to translate.
Bever was one of those words we saw yesterday.
It is
a lot.
A lot. Ბევრ წყალს. David, what is the case for წყალს, if you remember?
Yeah, it was dative.
Dative. What does it have any markers here? Can you?
The final S.
Okay, but Donna, what is the case for ბევრ then?
It was dative as well.
Yes. Where is the marker then?
There's no marker.
Because
the dative doesn't take the marker at the end.
In case of adjectives, in case of determiner. Yeah, if it is a determiner, it doesn't take. Yes, you are right. So, შემდეგი, what about the third sentence? Civvy, so civvy, cold. I drink cold water. Okay. Now, swam, siv, წყალს, exactly. The swam is a verb, v is a subject marker. Siv, წყალს is a dative marker. Okay, semiti brunis, dative marker. Siv, no dative marker because it is a determiner. Siv, წყალს. Okay, I have a question here. Shen, swam, ღვინოს. What is ღვინო? Vino, it is almost cognitive. Vino.
Is it like wine or?
Yeah, of course it is
Wine.
wine. Okay, Gevatono. So Vinos. So yeah, by the way, Vino is an interesting word to be discussed. They say there is a theory that in all languages the word wine takes its origin from Georgian word vino. And these people claim that when one word is transferred to another language, it usually takes a simplified pronunciation. And as long as the vino is the most difficult pronunciation of the wine, most difficult one. For example, from Georgian vino, we would never get vino or wine, or so from vino or from wine, it would never have transferred it to Georgia like vino. It would have been vino, or it depends on which language it came from Georgia. But as long as vino is the most difficult pronunciation of the word, it makes us think that maybe, yeah, the word vino was the initial word from which this word was transferred to other different languages. Shen svam vinos. This is a question. Tomek, shen svam vinos. Shen svam vinos.
Mev svams vinos.
Vinos, vsvam. Shen svam kartul vinos. Georgian wine.
Okay. Mev svam kartu vinos.
Exactly. Mev svam kartul vinos. Tomek, shen svam prangul vinos.
And prangul was?
Pranguli, French.
Oh, French.
Yeah, diolch. Mev svam prangul vinos, you can say.
Mev svam prangul vinos.
Pranguli vino datevi, prangul no marker, vinos so dative marker. Okay, so Ivy, is swams pandas? Question 6. Can you repeat? Is swams pandas?
Is swamps
Pandas.
pandas?
Panda. What is panda? What can the word panda mean? So
Is it the Fanta, like
Fanta. Yeah, this is Fanta,
soda?
like, yeah, exactly. So about salmon. Okay, Ivy, can you find out about Steve? Is swamps pandas? Ask the question to Steven. Ivy is asking.
Steven, Shen swamped Fanta?
Pandas in the dative.
Pandas.
Steven, shen swamp pandas.
Mes fam pantas.
Pandas. Steven, shen swamp Gollus.
Met fam Gollus. I'm saying this, but I don't know what Gollus actually means.
Cola, Coca-Cola, cola.
Oh, cola. Okay. Thank you.
Kivatana. Steven, shen swamp Gollus.
Me svam a kava.
Me vsvam kavas.
Me svam kavas.
Okay. Me vsvam kavas. Me vsvam kavas. Me vsvam kavas. Did we? Okay, sorry. Me svam kavas. Let me give the transcript. Me vsvam kavas. This is what we said. I drink coffee. Me svam kavas. Okay. So the verb, yeah, as I really classes is not the verb of the first class, first conjugation, because yeah, it has all the signs of and it goes according to the pattern specific to the first class. The next is sodna for you, which is to know. As I said, it is exceptional verb, unique verb in the language, because this is the only verb which in the present takes not nominative, subject of which takes not nominative marker, but ergative case. And ergative case markers in case of nouns is either m or ma. Okay, like eka, ekam. Tomek, tomegma. Margi, margma. Richardi, richardma. In case of personal pronouns, first person, second person does not change. Man. This is different. And mat instead of is. and isini. Me vitsi kartuli. Me vitsi kartuli, me vitsi inglisuri, me vitsi rusuli. Shen itsi, Tomek. Shen ra ena itsi. What languages? Ra itsi shen. Ra ena itsi shen. So Tomek, now you're supposed to say the languages you know. Me vitsi.
Me itsi.
So
Is it the
me.
same? Is it the same as the name of the person from the country, like Polonelli, or not?
Yeah, no, it is different. As we said, languages and production is a little bit different. Not Polonelli, but it is Uri or Uli, most cases. Look at it, Kart Uli, English Uri, Rus Uli, Polonuri, what else? So Mevitsi, Polonuri.
German?
Germanuli.
Germanuli.
Mevitsi, Pol, Inglisuri, Rusuli, Polonuri, Germanuli, okay. Კიდევ რა იცი?
French.
Franguli, we have French, okay. Franguli.
Spanish.
Espanuri in this case, so Espanuri. Anything else?
Chinese.
Chinuri, okay. Chinuri.
Dutch.
Okay, Daniuri, Hollandiuri, we call it Hollandiuri, right? Daniuri. Daniuri can be the production, Daniuri, but there's Hollandiuri. Hollandiuri. Კიდევ?
Yeah, we can stop here. It's fine.
Okay, let us stop here. Okay, we have quite a list of languages here. So languages, Kartuli, Inglisuri, Rusuli, Polonuri, Germanuli, Frankuli, Espanuri, Chinuri, Hollandiuri. Steven, Ra, Ena, Itzi, Shen. So Ena, let me give you here, Ena is the language, and plural, En, Eb, I. Ra, enebi, itzi, shen, Steven. Me vitsi. This is the form that we need to activate now. Me vitsi, okay?
Man vits.
Me vitsi.
So you're not asking me what he speaks, you're asking me what I.
Yeah, me. Here, look at it. Me vitsi. Yes, I'm asking you. Ra,
okay.
Okay, kibatano.
Me vitsi. Inglisuri.
Here we have Inglisuri, Gocha.
Frangisuli. Frangisuri.
Franguli.
Franguli. Germanuli.
Here we have Germanuli.
Chinuli.
We have Chinuri.
Rusuli.
Rusuli, good. Okay. Sorry, შემდეგი. Ivy. Espanuri. Okay. Here we have Espanuri. Okay. კი ბატონო, კარგია. გავაგრძელოთ. Ivy. რა ენები იცი შენ? რა ენები იცი შენ?
მე ვიცი ინგლისური, ესპანური, Korean, how do you say Korean?
Korეული.
in Japanese?
იაპონური.
Yaponuri.
კი ბატონო. ძალიან კარგი. გავაგზავნოთ. არა, okay. So, David, შენ იცი ინგლისური?
Yeah, me ვიცი ინგლისური.
შენ იცი ფრანგული?
Yeah, me ვიცი ფრანგული.
შენ იცი გერმანული?
არა. მე არა ვიცი.
არ ვიცი.
მე არ ვიცი გერმანული.
მე არ ვიცი გერმანული. Okay. მე არ ვიცი გერმანული. This is the negative. არა is a particle, negative particle. არა, მე არ ვიცი გერმანული. გასაგებია. So, გავაგრძელოთ class 2. მეორე კლასი. The verbs of this conjugation are intransitive verbs. They are passive voice. Usually, almost all first-class verbs can make the second-class equivalent, can have the second-class equivalent. Sometimes they can be conjugated according to the person. Sometimes they have only the understanding of the third person. But almost all of them can be put in slight changes into the second class. Also, this class includes the verbal form for adjectives. In English, this corresponds to the get plus adjective construction, like get angry, get hungry, get red, redden, get wide, widen. Yeah. So, for example, deaf in Georgian is rovdeba, because of the too much noise, it gets deaf. Redden, to become red, itsitldeba. Okay. Now, yeah, I have the translation here. It's itsitldeba. Gets red, rovdeba, gets deaf. Partovdeba, gets widen. Also motion verbs, but not all are in this class. Movdivar, I come. Davdivar, I go, I visit. The verb to be, although some linguists think that to be does not belong to any of this class, it is just a regular verb, but still the verb to be by most of its signs and rules and behavior is and fits in this class. The subject is usually the nominative in all scripts. It does not change, not in the past and not in any other tenses, any other scripts. Examples can be shendeba is built or is being built. Izrdeba grows or is growing. Tbeba gets warm or is getting warm. Ixneba opens, the shops open, for example. Iketeba gets closed. For example, we are closed at 7 o'clock. We get a bit as an office, as a school. Conjugation, the same. The set pattern of conjugation. Me vtbebi, I get warm. Shent baby, he gets warm, he's getting warm. Is tbeba, for example, the cat is getting warm under the sun. Kata tbeba mzeze. Shwen vtbebit, tkven tbebit, isini tbebian. Okay, so Mark, can you please, let's conjugate the tbebi verb. I get warm, I'm getting warm. Me
tbebi.
Shen
tbebi.
Is
tbeba.
Chwen
Oh my goodness. Tbebit.
Tbebit. Tkwen.
Okay. Tbebit.
Tkwen.
Oh, Quen. Okay.
Not Tkwen.
Sorry. Yeah, Tkwen.
Yeah.
Tbebit.
Good. Isini.
Tbebian.
Exactly. Isini tbebian. Okay. What if I ask Tomek now to go through the verb me? I get red. For example, me I blush, I get red. Me vწითლდები, me vწითლდები. Conjugation. Voice first person maker. Shen. Second person has no markers. Shen წითლდები. Me vწითლდები, shen წითლდები. Is წითლდება. Ჩვენ. So
Citrubebit.
Exactly. ჩვენ ვწითლდებით. თქვენ. ჩვენ ვწითლდებით. თქვენ. So this time is წითლდება. წითლდება. And you have to თქვენ. წითლდებით. Okay. თქვენ წითლდებით. ისინი წითლდებიან. Ian is the third person plural subject marker. ისინი წითლდებიან. Okay. So სახლი შენდება. Sahli was a house. Yesterday we said that Sahli is a house. Can you translate this sentence? Ivy, can you try? Sahli შენდება. Შენდება, it is, if you remember. შენდება. Შენდება was, look at it.
Build the house.
შენდება is built or is being built, right? So Sahli შენდება. What is that? So, Ivy, can you repeat the sentence and try to translate,
build,
please?
Sahli შენდება.
Diolch.
Building a house.
A house is built. A house is being built. So it is either a house is built, a lot of houses are built, or my house is being built at the moment. So it is the construction site. Sahli შენდება. Look at it. Რა ლამაზი სახლი შენდება. Okay. David, try to translate მაღაზია იკეტება.
Yeah, I don't recognize either of those.
Μაღაზია იკეტება. Okay. What is μაღაზია word? Μაღაზი. Yeah, shop. Shop. It is a shop.
Mağazaya
Იკეტება. Mentioned up about the დაკეტვა, it is to close. The shop closes. Yeah. The shop closes at 7 o'clock. Μაღაზია იკეტება. Okay, passive. So the idea is passive, intransitive, has no object. Μაღაზია is the subject. We don't know who closes the shop. So μაღაზია იკეტება. Second class, passive. The shops are closed. The shop is closed. Okay, მაღაზია იკეტება. What about the plural? What can be the plural of it?
something with B.
Ebi. Yeah. Mağazi ebi. Mağaziyebi იკეტება. One more strange thing about the plural in Georgian is that if the subject is in the plural and it is inanimate, it takes singular verb, not plural.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so animate plural nouns take plural verb. Inanimate plural nouns take იკეტება. Look at it, not იკეტებიან. Okay, იკეტება, not იკეტებიან in this case. Okay, მესამე კლასი, the third class is very much similar to the first class. Okay, some people think that they're just one class. The only difference is that the first class is usually with the preverbs. Third class, they don't take preverbs. They're mostly intransitive. Okay, but they have ergativity, so they take ergative case in the past. No, most of the verbs are okay. The rest of the verbs, some of the motion verbs are in the first class, some of the motion verbs are in the third class. verbs about weather, such as rain and snow. It rains, it snows. So it rains is just one separate word in Georgian. Swims, it snows, it is a verb, and tos, and they're in the third class. Verbs expressing sound. I shout, I sing, they're in the third class. Verbs that are derived from the loan words are also in this class. Well, I get interested, for example, me interested. So yeah, okay. They're pretty much similar to the first class, but by nature they're passive. Not that in English, for example, I study. English learner or English speaker would never think of this verb as a passive, but in Georgian it takes passive signs. For example, passive marker E. What is a passive marker? It is E at the beginning. It is in the past. And in the future, where we don't have the preverb, these verbs take E at the beginning as a passive maker. This is the difference in terms of conjugation. So in the present, there is no difference, like me vstavlob, shen stavlob, isstavlobs. Ჩვენ ვსწავლობთ, თქვენ სწავლობთ, ისინი სწავლობენ. This is I study verb. So as you see, so almost no difference in terms of conjugation from the first class verb. We can detect the difference in all the categories where there is no preverb, and they are usually future and past. So instead of preverb in the first class verbs in the future and past, we get here E as a passive maker. I will study visavli. That's why this group of verbs are considered a bit a separate class. In fact, this is the only difference between the first class and the third class verbs, okay? First class verbs have the preverb for the past and for the future. Third class verbs don't have preverb, but instead they get E at the beginning of the stem, which originally is the passive maker. So, me vstavlob, shen stavlob, isstavlobs. Me vstavlob kartuls, me vstavlob germanus. Shen stavlob kartuls. Tkven stavlobt kartuls. You can say čven vstavlobt enebs. We study languages. Me vstavlob germanus. I study German. Shen stavlob kartuls. You, David, you study German. Tkven kartuls, Georgian. Tkven stavlobt kartuls. Tomeki, Ivy, Marki, Daviti. Isini stavloben kartuls. Okay.
So in this case, you're still for the language, for the sort of, you still use the dative after that?
Okay, we still use the dative after that, although, yeah, this stavlob verb has got the object. This is considered to be the third class verb because it has no preverb, and in the future and in the past, it takes E at the beginning, which is usually the passive maker. That's why this verb is in the third class conjugation type, okay? Kargi. So, very quickly, let's go through the conjugation. Ivy, can you please? Me
vstavlob,
shen.
shen stavlob, is stavlob, čven vstavlob, tkven stavlobt, isini stavloben.
Ძალიან კარგია, very good. Isini stavloben. Okay. The same is ცხოვრება, to live. Me vცხოვრობ, შენ ცხოვრობ, ის ცხოვრობს. ჩვენ ვცხოვრობთ, თქვენ ცხოვრობთ, ისინი ცხოვრობენ. Me vცხოვრობ, I live. Okay, Mark, can you conjugate the verb? Me vცხოვრობ, შენ
მე ვცხოვრობ, შენ oh my goodness.
without will. You just, yeah, don't need verb because it is Shen, second person. Shen,
შენ ცხოვრობ
Storia is
okay is ცხოვრობს
Ცხოვრობ, Storia, Chwen,
ცხოვრობს okay got it ჩვენ ცხოვრობ okay ცხოვრობთ თქვენ stop oh my goodness
Ცხოვრობთ,
stop okay ისინი
and
ცხოვრობ
ისინი,
ცხოვრობენ
კი ბატონო, ისინი ცხოვრობენ. So, now questions. David, მე, I'm reading this sentence, მე ვცხოვრობ თბილისში. სად ცხოვრობ შენ? მე ვცხოვრობ თბილისში. სად ცხოვრობ შენ, David?
მე ცხოვრობ ფრანგი
საფრანგეთში.
საფრანგეთში.
Okay, მე ვცხოვრობ საფრანგეთში. Okay, Chanel.
Locative prefix or
Yeah. Saet. This is the place for French people. Sae, sao, very often. Sakartvelo, place for Georgians. Saet, place for place for French people, kind of. Yes, saet is a derivation of affix. მე ვცხოვრობ საფრანგეთში. Storia. Chanel, მე ვცხოვრობ თბილისში. დავითი ცხოვრობ საფრანგეთში. სად ცხოვრობ შენ?
Okay. მე ცხოვრობ ამერიკაში.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. მე ვცხოვრობ ამერიკაში. So, Mark, მე ვცხოვრობ თბილისში. დავითი ცხოვრობს საფრანგეთში. შანელი ცხოვრობს ამერიკაში. სად ცხოვრობ შენ?
მე ვცხოვრობ ფილიპინელი
Okay, მე ვცხოვრობ ფილიპინებზე, we can say ფილიპინებში, you can say. Okay, ფილიპინებში.
okay
მე ვცხოვრობ ფილიპინებში. See? ფილიპინებში. Okay, ფილიპინებში. გავაგზავნოთ. Okay, Ivy, სად ცხოვრობ შენ?
მე ვცხოვრობ ამერიკაში.
ამერიკაში. მე ვცხოვრობ თბილისში. სად ცხოვრობ შენ? ის ცხოვრობს თბილისში. Tomek, სად ცხოვრობ შენ?
მე ვცხოვრობ, I don't know how to say in the Netherlands.
ნიდერლანდებში.
ნიდერლანდებში.
მე ვცხოვრობ ნიდერლანდებში. Okay, გავაგზავნოთ. Tomek, შანელი ცხოვრობს ამერიკაში.
ის ვცხოვრობს ამერიკაში.
კი ბატონო, ის ცხოვრობს ამერიკაში. მე ვცხოვრობ ამერიკაში. მე ვცხოვრობ ამერიკაში, Tomek. არა.
შენ ვცხოვრობ თბილისში?
Yeah. What about the negative? No, you don't live in America. Ara. Ara. Shen. Let me show you how to say the negative. Ara.
მე არ
This is I. Me ar vtsxovrоб. What about me? No, you don't live. Ara. Shen ar vtsxovrоб Amerikashi. Ara. შენ არ ცხოვრობ ამერიკაში. No. არა, შენ არ ცხოვრობ ამერიკაში. No, you don't live in America. არა, შენ არ ცხოვრობ ამერიკაში. You live in Georgia. შენ ცხოვრობ თბილისში. არა, შენ არ ცხოვრობ ამერიკაში. შენ ცხოვრობ თბილისში. შენ ცხოვრობ საქართველოში. აბა, Toma, can you read? არა.
Ara, Shen, Arf, Tsoprov, Amerikashi,
Očak.
Shen, Tsoprov,
Sakartveloshi.
Sakartveloshi.
კი ბატონო, საქართველოში. Okay. And the fourth class of conjugation, it's considered to be most difficult out of these four classes, all as it's nearly, because they are inversive. Why they're difficult? Because by nature, for example, the verbs of emotion are in this class. And in Georgian, in order to say, for example, I love you, what you get, the idea is that I am affected by the feeling caused by you. This is the whole, that's why they're called inversive. I, as a subject, takes object markers, and you is an actual object, right? But it takes subject markers, because the idea is that some people don't even think that I is the subject here. Some people argue, some linguists, that the subject here is you. So I, in the sentence, I love you, you is the doer of the action agent, and I is the receiver of the action. I am affected by the feelings caused by you. So this is kind of a philosophy of the verb. I love you in Georgian, if you say with me, shen, miqarxar, and it means that subject I takes object set markers, and object you takes subject set markers. That's why they're called inversion verbs. Verbs convey the meaning of emotional and prolonged state. And also there are the verbs which include verbs such as maqavs and mags, which are to have, and I'm giving the conjugation of these verbs here. They are also some other subgroups, like verbs of desire. And very interesting here is like one is I dance, but the other is I feel dancing. Yeah, I feel like dancing. Like, for example, I dance is third class, but here I feel like dancing comes from this verb, and eb markers, metsequeba, again, m as an object marker with normal other different classes. Here, m is a subject marker. So subject and object markers change their places. Subject takes object markers and object takes subject markers. For example, this is the list of the verbs, like kona, to have, and ola, to have. We use two different verbs for possession, for animate and inanimate. Then siqvaruli, to love, me miqvars. Okay. Me minda, I want. Me mtsiva, I'm cold. What I mean that mu normally is an object marker, but here me is marked with mu. Me mtschela, I'm hot. Me menadreba, I miss. Me mshia, I'm hungry. Okay. Me mkvia, I'm cold. Me micharia, I'm glad. Me mtsuria. So let's conjugate the verb to have with animate objects. Me max, the other way around. Okay, me max is for inanimate. I'm sorry, I'm going to send you the corrected version anyway after the lesson. Inanimate, max, and for animate we have qaus. For example, if I have a book, we say me max tigni. But if I have children, me mqavs shvilepi. Okay, I have a house. You have a house. Shen gaks sachli. And mas aks, chwen gvaks, tkwen gakt, mat akt. Okay, so different with animate objects. Me mghaus, for example, I have a cat. Me mghaus gata, shen ghaus shvilebi, mas. A little bit. Okay, chwen gvghaus, we have chwen gvghaus zagli, we have a dog. Tkwen ghaut gata, you have a cat. Mat ghaut didi ojachi, they have a big family. Okay. So normally this g and s and gv, g, t, these markers, this mu is normally an object marker, but here it stands for me. S, with other different classes, with the first and second and third class, S stands for object, but here it stands for subject. Here it stands for object. For example, me max sachli. So S stands for sachli and mu stands for me, which should be the other way around for the first and third class. Shen gaks zigni. Okay, zigni. S stands for zigni as an object, but initially this is a subject marker, and shen is denoted by g. Mas aks, example, mas aks kakwetil, he has a lesson. Mas aks kakwetil, he has a lesson. S here, initially it is a subject marker, but here it stands for kakwetil, object. So that's why these verbs are called inversive verbs. Subject and object markers exchange their place. Me mghaus samishvili. I have 3 children. Mas ghaus zagli. He has a dog. Shen ghaus zagli. Do you have a dog? Diach me mghaus zagli. Or ara me ar mghaus zagli. Me mghaus gata. No, I don't have a dog. I have a cat. Chwen gvags gagwatili. We have a lesson. Chwen gvags germanulis gagwatili, genitive. Do we have a German lesson of German? Ara, chwen ar gvags germanulis gagwatili. Chwen gvags kartulis gagwatili. We have a Georgian lesson. Okay, so Stephen, chwen gvags kartulis gagwatili. Do we have a Georgian lesson? Chwen gvags kartulis gagwatili. Diach.
Diach. Me mars.
Kartulis.
Actulis.
Kartulis.
Cartulis. Sakatfeluli.
Yeah, gagwatili. What if I ask you to say in the plural, we have Georgian lessons? It will be chwen. Yeah, not me, but chwen.
Chwen. I've forgotten what the
Chwen, we.
Yeah, no, I know what that is, but what's the verb?
Gvags, have.
Gvags.
Chwen
gvags.
Cartulis.
Cartulis. Cartulis sakatveluri.
Gagwetili is the go. Yeah, gagwetili. Chwen gvags cartulis. Gagwetili is the lesson. Chwen gvags cartulis gagwetili.
Chwen gvags cartulis gagwetili.
We are having a Georgian lesson, Gibatano. And the negative would have been chwen ar gvags germanulis gagwetili. Okay, Stephen. Chwen
gvags.
What about we don't have?
Sorry, chwen
Okay.
ar gvags cartulis gagwetili.
Okay, what about German lesson? We don't have
Okay,
German lesson. Mhm.
So Kartulis Germanuli.
Twen, ar,
Twen arg vax Kartulis
Germanuli.
Germanulis.
Გაკვეთილი, right? ჩვენ არ გვაქვს გერმანულის გაკვეთილი. Okay? Here is negative. ჩვენ არ გვაქვს გერმანულის გაკვეთილი. კი ბატონო. Okay?
The animate category is essentially humans and animals.
Okay, humans, animals, and by the way, vehicles or transport, kind of transport. If we have a car, we don't say me max as inanimate, we say me mqaws. Most probably because the transport used to be living things in the past, yeah? And that's why I think so. There's a theory that why do we use mqaws animate with the transport? Because transport in the past used to be some kind of living animals. That's why we still use with transport and vehicles mqaws version, okay? So any more questions?
I have a question actually, like when you combine nouns with verbs and numbers, do they take the plural forms or the singular forms? Because it was like when we were changing singular to plural, and when we combined with numbers, then we used singular instead. Or like it was, we were deleting the EB part.
Yeah.
How is it when it's conjugated then?
Yeah, the thing is that with animate and inanimate, the same, the rule is the same, okay? When we add that, this is what you're saying, when we add, for example, 2, yeah, or 3 as a collective word, as a descriptive word, what happens in case of inanimate?
I mean, yeah.
The thing is that a little bit different with animate. If the noun is inanimate and it is in plural, inanimate, so it takes a singular verb all the time, unless you want to personalize the noun. Okay, if we give the human character to, for example, the flowers who speak, when flowers sing, we say the plural. But so normally inanimate plural nouns take singular verb. Okay, yes, I is yeah, plural is also kind of not difficult, but too many different. Let's call it different. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so tomorrow is our final session. I'd like to try tomorrow to make several sentences about ourselves. As long as we have the conjugation of some basic verbs, maybe we'll try to speak about ourselves. Like, for example, me var Eka, me vცხოვრობ თბილისში, me var ქართულის მასწავლებელი, me mqavs 3 შვილი. I have 3 children. me mqavs 3 შვილი. me vmუშაობ სკოლაში. me vmუშაობ ქართული და ინგლისური ენების სკოლაში. ენების სკოლაში. Okay? me vsწავლობ გერმანულს and some basic verbs that you can come up with on the list. So let us try to prepare something about ourselves. We're going to talk about ourselves tomorrow to see how much of it we mastered.
დიდი მადლობა.
მადლობა თქვენ. ხვალამდე.
Thank you.
ნახვამდის.
Nahwamdi, Marlot.
On this.